Hello and welcome to Real Economy Check. Here we try to gauge the mood amongst what some would say is one of the biggest employers in India. I'm talking about the small and the medium enterprises. These companies are also the ones that face the brunt of disruptions and changes announced by the government. Our guest today is someone who heads an architecture and building products company called Innovators Facade Systems, which had a turnover of little more than 150 crores in the last fiscal. Rohit Sharma, Director of Innovators Facade, on the show. Rohit, good having you. Thanks much for taking the time out and speaking to us at Bloomberg Quint. In a minute, can you tell us about yourself and your company? What do you do?
Okay, Innovators Facade Systems is a one-stop solution to the exterior facades of a building. We do anything which is dry cladding, and probably we have done one of the tallest. We're working on the second tallest tower of the country, which is the Lodha World Towers. So we deal with all kind of products that are available in the market, which is required for the exteriors of the product. We've done around 13 airports in the country. Be it the Chandigarh airport done by us in the right 2 years back. So you see curtain walls, the high rises coming up with all the glass facades around them. We design, manufacture and install them. We are a one-stop solution for such a solution.
Okay. Well, infrastructure might be going great guns. Real estate, I don't think is. How is business been over the last 12 months, Amit?
Business has been a little slow, but I would say that it does not really affect everybody. I would say that survival of the fittest is a true saying in our industry. So if your product is good and you have been consistent over the period of time, no matter what kind of a turnaround comes in the economy, there will be a demand. And though the expectations of the market is usually very high, but a realistic businessman wouldn't be too worried about it.
Rohit, the two sets of customers that you spoke about, which is one, the real estate companies, and two, airports, which would mean dealing with either the state or central government, depending on who your customer is. What's happening to cash flows from both of these pockets? Because understandably, real estate isn't issues, and the government capex has noticeably slowed down.
I would say that the market has definitely affected, because I believe that there was too much inflation happening in the last 3 to 4 years. People were getting paid over what they deserved, and that's the reason all the prices went up, but accordingly not the income of the people. So definitely when the spending power of the customer reduces, there is lesser sales in infrastructure, and that ultimately affects the planning of the developers, and the amount of debt they have taken, they are unable to repay because the income is not coming from the consumers in the similar way. So the demand has decreased, and ultimately has affected us as vendors to provide a solution to the client. So earlier, but the only difference is, earlier we used to have 100 projects available in the market, but only 30 of them were useful to us. Now, useful in the sense they were quality conscious clients, they were time driven clients, they wanted to deliver projects with esteemed quality. But but with RERA coming in, with the demonetization coming in, and the building standards going high, the number of projects from 100 reduced to 30. But all these 30 are good for us, our kind of projects where we want to bid. So earlier when we had 100, we were bidding only for 30. So our 30, we were only being part of 30% of the project. But now 30 out of 30 are my kind of projects. So 100% of them is what I want to be in. So the quality of projects have become better, though, and the 70% of the projects which were of lower standard or had a lot of technical deviations from the government policies and everything have been cut down.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing to tackle this issue of working capital flows that might be not coming in from your existing clients? Are you expanding geographies, moving on from where you are right now? Are you expanding sectors? And two, how are you taking advantage of this, the positive point that you spoke about, which is that all the 30 projects are the ones that you want to bid for. Are you saying that therefore you're bidding more and you're winning more, and therefore your revenues might actually go up even in these times?
I would say that apart from this change that has happened, there are a lot of internal introspection that has been going on for the past 1 year. We have been working on our productivity, evaluating each and every process, team, and all the HODs, what is their strategy, how are they optimizing things. So we're working on, more of technology so that we could remove our output to at least 2 times with, even half of the resources. We are trying to become more competitive by adapting technologies, and we are also looking at the other two options of expanding our geography and also diversifying. So we have an amazing facility in Bada where we do a lot of fabrication work, a lot of installation and other aspects, which was solely dependent towards the developer sector. So now we are using these same resources and looking towards the pharmaceutical industry and other industries where a similar value addition is required, so that we are not dependent on one sector as of now, and we are always flexible whenever the market turns around. This market is going to be dynamic, and no matter when. 10 years back, 20 years back, people used to talk about inflation or the market being bad. That situation is a cycle. It's a cycle. It comes every 10 years. You need to be surviving. Survival of the fittest is the most important thing. So you need to change according to them and move ahead. So we're doing all we can. The only thing is we are not being too optimistic. We are staying on ground. We are trying to enhance our strengths. We are not trying to diversify too much away from the fabrication business that we are doing.
Got it. What about borrowing costs, Rohit? A lot of people say that despite rate cuts having happened, borrowing costs have gone up for SMEs. What's your experience been?
Borrowing costs have gone up. So, any project that we are taking, we try to be in a situation where we are not the ones funding the projects, but it's the client who's funding. So we just want to be a facilitator, a service provider. When the client is putting in money, we are providing him the service and we move out. It has been difficult, when you try to penetrate through a market, try to create a niche, or you want to create a brand, you compromise on them on an earlier stage. But we have matured over the period of time. We're a 20-year-old organization, so we try that our cash flows are intact, and the client is the one who's responsible to fund the project and ensure that his product is given most priority by us because he's funding the project, and we provide only the service and we move on. So financial burden is something which we are trying to avoid over the period of time. We haven't been 100% successful, but it's a good step that we have taken ahead.
How much have borrowing costs gone up by? If you can tell us.
I'm not sure at this moment right now.
Okay. One last question. What would happen if the clients, which are large real estate clients, are not able to pay back the monies on time or not able to pay back the monies at all? How much of your working capital is stuck within the real estate space, and you believe that entire 100% will be repaid even if with a bit of a lag? I'm pretty much secure about 90% of the project value that we are working on. The 10% is always dependent because the last 10% comes in when the client takes over and the product is fine and we get a sign off or handover. So till the 90% of the project, our cash flows are intact. Once we deliver the material on site, we get paid for it. We don't have to install them. So the clients are more eager so that the material is on site. So we get 90% of the payments in our hand. Balance 10%, it's our rapport, it's our service, and the kind of process that we have in the project where an installation of a product leads to the delivery for the next part of the process. So we have tried to keep a balance, but definitely 90% of the money is safe where we get payment against delivery. Okay, Rohit, we'll leave it at that. All the best. Good to hear an optimistic voice in a scenario where the industry that you're serving is not in the best of shapes. Keep that up, and thanks so much for speaking to us at Bloomberg Quint.
Thank you so much, Neeraj.
Well, that's a facade company talking about opportunities within the current issues that the industry, which is the real estate industry and the allied sector, is facing. Thanks so much for tuning into this broadcast.